And are you ready? Because this is the big one. I mean that very sincerely. Round 11 of the 2001 Formula One World Championship at Silverstone in currently glorious weather. This is the race that could decide this year's World Championship. If David Coulthard, who is currently 31 points behind Michael Schumacher, the reigning world champion, does not finish in front of the Ferrari here at Silverstone, he really is going to have a major job on his hands to be world champion this year. But all is not lost. David Coulthard has won here twice already, last year and the year before. And although McLaren have not exactly been away, they are really back with a bang now. Mika Häkkinen, the man who has disappointed so many of us so often this year, not so much through his problems as the cars, is 8 1/1000ths of a second slower than Michael Schumacher on the front row of the grid in second place. And David Coulthard, that double winner here, is right behind Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. But that is the man to watch. Janos Trulli in a rejuvenated Jordan Honda, the man who has deserved to win Grand Prix after Grand Prix, but has never actually made it onto the podium, could very much be there this year. The very likeable little Italian is getting better and better. He's fourth on the grid. He's less than half a second slower than Michael Schumacher. And his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen is in fifth position. What about the Williams, I hear you asking, and that powerful BMW engine and the Michelin tyres? Not going so well here. Montoya, who I have been tipping for a win today, is 8th on the grid, and his teammate Ralf Schumacher is in 10th position just behind him. But it's, as ever, all going to depend on strategy, on tyres, who comes in when, and above all, whether it rains. You see above you blue skies and white clouds, but it was just as quick to go from this to rain in the past at Silverstone, and it could go the other way today. What do you think?
Some of the teams are talking about the chance of light rain during the course of the Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher then on pole position. I believe the McLarens have a slightly better launch control, the start mechanism they use where the drivers let the electronics take over for them and control their launch towards that first corner copse. An unusually fast first turn here at Silverstone, Murray. They're doing quite a speed when they get down there, well over 150 miles an hour, but at the end of the day, there's only really just enough room for one car on the racing line still. So Michael Schumacher then under attack from the McLarens. Can Häkkinen come into play today? Can there be some team riding, as they would be in Speedway parlance, such that Häkkinen can help David Coulthard in the World Championship? And will he want to?
Well, we'll soon know. But, you know, that young Damon Hill looks more and more like George Harrison every day, doesn't he?
He does indeed, doesn't he? But
I know it's got nothing to do with the race, but here we go. There we are, you see, those are the lights which are going to indicate that it's soon time for the formation lap to start. And we've seen some pretty dramatic happenings on the formation lap. In 1994, for instance, Michael Schumacher, who's currently in pole position, was second on the grid to Damon Hill. He passed Damon on the formation lap. They had another one, he did it again, and they said that's enough. Black flag during the race this was. And Michael Schumacher stayed out. He was in the Benetton. He came in, he took a penalty. A very, very exciting situation.
Coulthard deciding today to speak to absolutely nobody on the grid. He's not, as we saw when we were cut live to him, he's not really had that much of a chance to have a full preparation leading into this crucial Grand Prix for his championship chances and the future. So Coulthard then really needing to focus deeply. He could well do without two cars in front of him this afternoon, but boy, does his car look good this morning, Murray, in the warm-up.
Super. Track temperature 28 degrees. The formation lap starts. Martin, you've taken us round already, but do it again. It's a fantastic experience.
A nice high shot then for us to appreciate the high-speed nature of this Silverstone circuit, and that is Beckett's corner. Looks very smooth and easy, doesn't it, from this range? But certainly this corner, just talking to Gerhard Berger on the line from BMW, representing the Williams team, of course, associated with Williams, saying we can't get through there. It's high speed, and there's a direction change and a second direction change through that area, and they're losing 3/4 of a second before they arrive on their way down to Stowe, and something then around 150, 160 miles an hour they'll be doing at race speed. And there's quite a little crest there into Val. You can't see the corner, you have to brake just over the top of it. And Club, where you're always scrabbling around to try to get each and every one of your 800 horsepower transmitted, of course, just through the rear wheels down into the Silverstone tarmac and gently uphill to Abbey Chicane then, about 70 miles an hour on the way through here. And Schumacher bunching the pack up then. He does not want to get on the line and wait 40, 45 seconds before they finally finish lining up in places 21 and 22. A sprint there, trying to get some temperature into those rear tyres, and he'll jump on the brake pedal. You sometimes see him actually locking his front wheels on this lap, trying to generate some brake temperature, keep the front tyre temperatures and pressures where they need to be. He knows he's got to have a car that is working from metre one of lap one, because those McLarens are gunning for him this afternoon. Luffield, a long right-hand corner. Formula One car's a bit fidgety through there, and you have to wait an eternity before you catapult out of there. And to stand and watch a Formula One car there is absolutely amazing. The true force and energy involved from the acceleration, the power to weight ratio really shows up there, Murray. And they're forming up then, heading towards the grid.
And remember the problems that McLaren have had with their launch control in recent races, where both David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen have been left on the line. They'll have been working very hard on that. But watch also those yellow Jordans. In pole position, Michael Schumacher. Behind him, David Coulthard. Alongside him, on your left, is Mika Häkkinen. Behind Michael Schumacher, Coulthard. Behind Häkkinen is Jarno Trulli.
You can see Coulthard's intentions already. Look, Murray, he's got his car pointed in between Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher. He's hoping he can get some grip straight away and catapult between the pair of them. Bit ambitious there for Coulthard, and the tail enders are lining up.
Now, is Michael Schumacher going to make a good start and cut across the front of Mika Häkkinen? He's famous for that. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 laps. Pause. Go, go, go. And Schumacher gets away well. Trulli is up alongside and sprinting into the first corner. It's Schumacher leading and Jarno Trulli is still fourth. Then off goes the Bayard.
And Trulli hit Coulthard. Trulli hit Coulthard into the first corner. Did he go off? I can see a Jordan in the gravel trap. And that was a McLaren coming out of the pit lane. It must have been Coulthard. So look, Michael Schumacher then from Mika Häkkinen. And where did Coulthard go? Did he fully connect with the Jordan? I think he did.
Well, it's a Williams up in third place, and out goes Jarno Trulli from the look of it. And you can see they're jostling for position at Stowe corner, but it's a Williams up into third position, and it looks like Juan Pablo Montoya it is, ahead of Barrichello in the Ferrari, who is fourth, and Ralf Schumacher is fifth, and out goes the BAR.
Panis is out then, so Trulli and Panis out, and I think Coulthard had a spin. I saw them just touch before they went out of camera shot, and Coulthard and Trulli getting together in turn one. What a shame for this race. What a shame for Coulthard's World Championship chances.
Indeed it is, but Mika's on the boil. Look at him right behind Michael Schumacher, and Montoya in that very powerful Williams BMW in third position. He's doing much better than he could have expected to. He's gained 5 places already, and we're still on the first lap, coming towards the end of it. Schumacher leads, Häkkinen second, Montoya going very wide in third place, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, and Raikkonen is sixth.
And Coulthard, we believe, is coming in the pits this time around, so the contact must have been pretty heavy. Maybe he's got some suspension damage, and he goes past me now. Coulthard not pitting, but he is last but one. Coulthard goes over the line in 18th because we've lost cars already in this Grand Prix. So David Coulthard then still on track, clearly 4 wheels all pointing in the right direction.
David Coulthard has got to pray now that something happens to take Michael Schumacher out of the race if his World Championship chances have not been destroyed already. Mika Häkkinen sitting in the wheel tracks of the Scarlet Ferrari. Now, what is the gap between Montoya and Häkkinen? The answer is 2.1 seconds at the end of the first lap. Be interesting to see whether he's closing up. Remember that the Ferrari and the McLaren are both on Bridgestone tyres. Montoya is on Michelin's. Mika Häkkinen having a look, and the first 3 are breaking away from Rubens Barrichello, who is fourth.
We've got a 2-horse race, I think, here, because Montoya, I do not believe, has got the car or the tyres underneath him So these two are going to scamper off into the distance. We'll watch Coulthard with interest. We're hearing from the F1 ITV pit crew. Coulthard decided to stay out. The team are ready for him if he chooses to come in. They wonder if he's got some damage. We didn't see exactly how he went off, where he went off, but he emerged out of the pit lane, so I imagine he had a big spin towards the inside of Copse.
Yeah, and you know, the most interesting thing I've heard this afternoon, Martin, was when John Todt was talking to you on the grid, and he implied that Michael Schumacher did not necessarily have to win, that he might therefore be satisfied with something less than first place, provided it got him points, and provided it got him more points than David Coulthard. It's certainly doing that at the present moment. David Coulthard in 18th position of replay.
And here we go, we've missed the action up the front. That is Panis getting together what looked like with Villeneuve. I just caught the beginning of that. But, and Coulthard is indeed coming out of the pit lane, look, so he must have spun to the inside. Let's see if we can see it this time around again. That's Panis's little trip across the gravel. He will eventually get beached in the same gravel trap already as Trulli. Now let's have a look. Coulthard going around the outside of the Jordan understeering. Coulthard nipping him slightly, and yes, Coulthard spins, look, a long, graceful but critical spin to the inside of the racetrack, out of harm's way. Has it damaged Coulthard's rear suspension? It's clearly damaged Trulli's front suspension.
Yeah, while he spun, past him went Barrichello, Schumacher, Raikkonen, Heidfeld, Frentzen, Lacey, Villeneuve, Verstappen, De La Rosa, Button, Bernoldi, Irvine and Bertie, and David Coulthard is in 18th position, fighting his way through the field as Mika Häkkinen fights Michael Schumacher, who will, I am sure, know that David Coulthard, his chief World Championship rival, is out of the race. The Ferrari radio signals will have told him, and there's somebody else off.
Coulthard,
let's look. It's David Coulthard. David Coulthard's race is over. David Coulthard retires from the British Grand Prix on lap 4, and sadly I have to say it looks as though his World Championship chances have gone with it. Not impossible, but even more difficult.
That's going to be a right rear suspension failure then on Coulthard's car without doubt, and he was struggling around at the back. We heard he was definitely coming in that lap anyway. I'd be surprised if they could do anything about that damage, because it's quite significant to change a rear wishbone. But Coulthard then out of the race, and we're on lap 4.
God, what bitter gall for David Coulthard. This is race 11. He's finished in the points in every race except one this year, and that was the Canadian Grand Prix when his engine let him down.
And here we're watching Coulthard now. Oh yes, he's out of shape long before the corner, look. So what would happen is one of the links on the rear suspension would break, and it starts turning the car from the rear, almost as if your steering wheel's connected to the rear wheels instead of the front. And Coulthard then couldn't make it back to the pits.
And McLaren have yet to have both drivers finish in a race this year, with Michael Schumacher now on lap 4 out of 60 in this British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Mika Häkkinen dogging his wheel tracks, but what a gap there is between them. It's 3.2 seconds now between Mika Häkkinen, who is in second place, and Juan Pablo Montoya, as Häkkinen goes for it. Häkkinen takes the lead on lap 5. Brilliant bit of driving.
I think Michael made a mistake. Michael got wide out of Copse, and I don't think he really wanted to fight too hard either. Remember what Jean Todt said to us on the start line, and Häkkinen positively moving away at a vast rate of knots. Let's try and understand what Schumacher did there. It looked as if he either just got a little wide on the exit of Copse, or just decided to yield and get Häkkinen out of his mirrors and concentrate on maximising the 6 points this afternoon. Michael Schumacher will already know, rest assured, that David Coulthard is out of this race.
Yeah, Michael, very much the thinking man's Formula One Grand Prix driver. He sized up the situation. He knows he doesn't have to win. He can get a minimum of 6 points more from David Coulthard if he stays where he is.
But I wouldn't have expected him to drop that far behind so quickly, Murray, to be perfectly honest.
In the back of my mind all the time, I'm saying to myself, has he got a problem? What matters as we watch this replay of Mika Häkkinen diving past the Ferrari, which, as Martin says, Michael Schumacher does not fight at all to stop him going through. The important thing now is to watch Montoya, who was 3.8 seconds behind on the previous lap, and see whether he starts catching Schumacher, in which case we will know that he has got a problem.
So Michael did get a touch wide in Cox, but not so much. He's now 1.9 seconds adrift. Last time around here, they were absolutely side by side, of course. Michael already beginning to fall back towards Montoya. So what is going on inside the cockpit of that Ferrari? But the crowd are on their feet as Mika Häkkinen came around to lead the Grand Prix, Murray. That's unusual considering the sea of red caps outside our window.
Yeah, we want to see Mika Häkkinen back. Third place. He's only had one podium this year in Canada and a couple of sixth places to give him those 9 World Championship points that he's got. But what's going on behind? Well, Rubens Barrichello in the Scarlet Ferrari, and there he is in 4th place, coming down to Stowe Corner, being pursued by the BAR there. That's Jacques Villeneuve, who's in 10th position, chasing Jean Alesi. And behind Villeneuve in the BAR, it's Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar, ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine, who is in 15th place. We're on lap 6 out of 60, 1/10 distance. Olivier Panis and Jarno Trulli both out of the race, as is sadly David Coulthard. So here is Alesi, Villeneuve turning into the left-hander at Abbey, now right up towards Bridge, the most spectacular corner on the course. They take that at 160 miles an hour into the comparatively slow complex at Prairie and Brooklands, 55 miles on the apex there. Then round the double right-hander at Luffield, accelerate away round Woodcote, and Jean Alesi in the Prost leads across the line. The BAR, there's only one BAR left in the race, of course, only one McLaren left in the race, and only one Jordan left in the race. And Heinz Harald Frentzen, who started 5th, is down to 8th position.
And Luciano Berti then is out of the race. He's going past our window here. There he is. Now you see it in the Prost, and look at that line of oil behind him. He is off the racing line. That's a difficult car to recover from there, Murray. A very difficult car, especially if he hasn't got it into neutral. There is a couple of gates along the pit wall, and they can get that car through. They'll have to operate under waved yellows. Jarno Trulli then, his race lasted just 1 corner. He is back in the pits already, and last time around Häkkinen's lead was already up to 3.6 seconds, and on this particular lap he's another 1.5 seconds already faster than second place man Michael Schumacher. You're watching Fisichella, who's running 18th and last at the moment, and that is why he's running 18th and last. He's just recovering from the gravel trap. That's a replay from Cox. And
Jenson Button is in an excellent for the Benetton this year, 13th place. Replay of Fisichella going off. Jenson Button is actually doing well in this race. He's tucked up behind Pedro de la Rosa's Jaguar. He's ahead of Bernaldi's Arrows. He's in 13th place, and he's ahead of Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar.
A few people having some dramas on Bertie's oil coming round here, getting well out of shape. The red and yellow striped flags are waving aplenty to warn the drivers, because actually it is at the beginning of the racing line of Woodcote, and then now they've got that knowledge, they'll start to move outboard of that. It will be no longer a problem next time around.
Well, I've said watch Montoya. Montoya is definitely there's the red and yellow oil flag telling the drivers to watch out, because there is oil from Bertie's engine, and Montoya has closed the gap between himself and Michael Schumacher, who's in second position, to under 3 seconds, some 2.7 seconds, and what's important is that he is gaining. I suspect that Schumacher has got some sort of a problem, as Luciano Berti walks in at the end of the race. 4 retirements now, Panis, Trulli, Coulthard and Berti, as we look down at the sole McLaren of Mika Häkkinen. Remember, Mika has had appalling luck this year in Spain. He was coming home in the last lap to win the race when his clutch exploded, and out he went.
I think Michael's got a problem, Murray. He's now lapping 2 and a bit seconds a lap slower than Mika Häkkinen. I don't think he'd be wanting to let himself anywhere near Montoya. He knows full well Montoya will have a stab at him at the first opportunity with a big overtaking move. So Michael then way off the pace of this morning's warm-up, some 3 seconds per lap. However much fuel he's got on board, he should not be going that slowly.
No, and he's less than 2 seconds behind Montoya. Louise Goodman.
I'm standing here with a very disappointed David Coulthard. David, rear suspension it looked like to us, was that right?
Yeah, no, obviously got damaged with the contact with Jarno at the first corner. I was on the radio explaining that I had a big problem, and the team said, let's look at the data. And so, but I knew it was only a matter of time, really, and then obviously let go coming through bridge and caught me out going into the Priory corner.
Tell us about that first corner incident. What exactly happened?
Well, I'm sure it's a classic case of two drivers, two different opinions, but Jarno made a better start. He was on my inside, but the nature of Copse is a very open corner, and I felt that given that I was ahead, I could still maintain my position on the exit and be in the right line for Beckett's. And when I tried to turn for the corner, he's maintained the position and hit my rear corner as I've turned in. So I'm sure he'll see it a different way. He'll say that I probably turned in on him, but he's not in the championship battle. You know, I know he's got to work hard for his position, but you've got to give up at some point because 2 into 1 doesn't go. I had the lead, so I believe he should have been the one who backed off.
Where do we stand with the championship now? I mean, that was your worst case scenario, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, but Mika's leading, which is good. Michael, you never know, could have reliability problems, and we could be all square again after this race.
Bad luck.
Yes, that's true, but what a battle we're looking at now. Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari in 4th position has got Ralf Schumacher's Williams tucked up behind him. He's followed by Raikkonen, he's followed by Heidfeld, he's followed by Heinz-Harald Frentzen. So there is the Ferrari, and for whatever reason, Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari is disappointing again.
He's not had a great weekend, has he? But Sir Frank Williams are going to be very excited about how his cars are going. It'll be a pleasant surprise from him, and here's the start. So look, truly getting away very well. Barrichello used to having a bad start. Now what happens into the first corner? Michael, look, front left, gets away well. Hakkinen tucks in behind, side by side, Trulli and Coulthard. Appeared to be enough room. They both went for it. Bit of a racing incident, I think I'd have to call that one. Be difficult to really apportion blame. There's another angle. Coulthard was definitely ahead. Trulli with nowhere to go, didn't want to yield. You can't blame him, really. So I think David could have left him a bit more space. Jarno could have been a little bit more careful. Difficult to really say any more than 50-50.
Trouble is, if you give way, you're a wimp, and if you don't give way, you're too hard.
Yeah, but you've got to make sure you keep your wheels intact. And there is the lead gap you're seeing for yourself in real terms. And Mika Hakkinen 11.6 seconds ahead last time over the start-finish line. So Michael Schumacher on an absolute Sunday afternoon cruise here for whatever reason. Would love to know why.
Mika Hakkinen 18 times a winner, and Michael Schumacher 50 times a winner. Looking good for his 51st Grand Prix win already. And that would make him equal with Alain Prost. And if he goes to Germany and does the same there, in 2 weeks' time, in front of his adoring countrymen, he will undoubtedly be the world champion of 2001. Ross Brawn watching as ever. That is Ralf Schumacher, who's in 5th position with Kimi Raikkonen in the Sauber behind him. And then behind Kimi Raikkonen, that is Nick Heidfeld. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the yellow Jordan has slipped from 5th to 8th.
4 Ferrari engine cars in the top 7 then, Murray, with the 2 Saubers, of course, using last year's Ferrari engine. Not too shabby, is it? Of course, it won the World Championship for Michael Schumacher, and it's certainly doing a great job in the back of that Sauber this year.
Yeah, Constructors champions in 2000, in 1999, Constructors champions in 2000. Ferrari are now working, they've said this themselves, they're working to dominate Formula One with Michael Schumacher, probably not with Rubens Barrichello, who we expect probably to be replaced. You've got to have terrific fortitude in Formula One. We've just been looking at Eddie Jordan sitting on the pit lane gantry there. He was talking optimistically just before the race began about how well Jarno Trulli had done in qualifying, how well Frentzen had done in qualifying. Now Trulli's out of the race and Frentzen has slipped down from 5th to 8th as Ralf Schumacher, who is the 2nd Michelin runner, because the lead Michelin runner is still Montoya, and Montoya is still inching up on Michael Schumacher. The gap, which was 3 seconds between Montoya in 3rd place and Michael Schumacher in 2nd position, was 3 seconds. It's now 1.4. We're on lap 12 of the British Grand Prix. It looks as though we're going to be lucky with the weather. I'm looking up into the skies as I talk to you, and yes, there are dark grey clouds overhead, they don't look too threatening, and hopefully the rain is going to hold off, although it certainly would transform things if any came down. Hakkinen is now over 15 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. There's no fight for the lead at all. Michael Schumacher's only got to keep going, and he's going to win in Britain for the second time, probably in less controversial circumstances than he won before, because the previous time he won stationary in the pit lane, taking a penalty. An amazing situation. I didn't really know what was happening. You cottoned onto it very quickly indeed, Martin, but that was the situation. So, lap 13, Hakkinen, Schumacher, Montoya, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen. And you see Ralf Schumacher is not pulling away from the Saubers behind him. Lap 13 out of 60 at Silverstone, and already it looks safe to say that the incredible Michael Schumacher, very much the dominant driver of his time, is strolling away to another Grand Prix victory unless something happens in the fuel stop, unless something happens to the car. He's 17 seconds behind Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah, he's strolling away, but not from anybody, Murray. Montoya is keeping within a second of him. Hakkinen is 17 seconds out front, and Louise Goodman is in the pits with Jarno Trulli.
I am indeed, Martin. Jarno, we've heard David's side of the story. What's yours?
Well, I had a very good start, and by the first corner I was next to David. I don't know if probably he hasn't seen me or he didn't want to give up, so he just took the outside line, closed the door, and at that stage I didn't have any more space to avoid the accident. It's a shame because you know, the team this weekend has done a great job. We had a very good car. And, our expectations were very high for the race.
Martin described it as a racing incident. Would you see it that way?
Yes, because probably we didn't understand each other. I was on inside line, and normally if I'm inside next to someone, I don't give up. And probably David was fighting for the championship and really wanted to keep his position. And he closed the door a bit too much. And so in this case, you know, we didn't find our way.
Thanks, Jarno.
And here we go, Germany's Michael Schumacher, second place, ahead of Colombia's Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams BMW, and it is getting very frisky indeed in this battle for second place. Montoya has closed up to less than a second behind Michael Schumacher, but what is going on in Michael's head? What is going on with the Ferrari? Because I'm quite sure that this is not a situation that he wants.
I don't think Michael's happy on this first set of tyres, Murray, something like that. He hasn't had any contact with anybody. He almost yielded to Mika Hakkinen easily. He didn't really fight him at all. He didn't make a big mistake. And Villeneuve has finally overtaken Jean Alesi, you're watching now, and we're going to see a replay of that. A good slipstream down into Stowe and a slide and slither up the inside. Alesi realising early on he's beaten, and Villeneuve very much with the faster car there, but I think Villeneuve got together with his teammate in the first corner of the first lap. Alesi springing up from what was 14th on the grid to what is now P11 behind Villeneuve in 10th place. But Michael Schumacher, I do not believe, is happy with his Ferrari. Be interesting to see after his first pit stop where he's at. If they're just playing a cruisy game and they're totally confident to let this happen because Coulthard is out of the World Championship, Hakkinen is no threat. He just has 9 World Championship points at this time. But Michael is playing it very cool if he's prepared to allow Montoya to be that close. James Allen is in the pits.
Yeah, down at Ferrari, actually, naturally coming down to see if there's any kind of problem here. They say Michael's car is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think for once, guys, what we're seeing here is Ferrari actually being conservative with the race strategy. I think he's carrying more fuel than Mika Hakkinen. I had a whisper before the start of the race that Ferrari believed that one of the McLarens would be running quite light, and that's clearly what Mika Hakkinen is doing. Having said that, the pace is not all that hot, Martin. After the warm-up this morning, we expected to see them going a lot faster than this. So it's a cat-and-mouse game. It's one that will evolve over the next 20 or so laps. But I think Ferrari just playing it conservative. They came here hoping to win, but it wasn't necessary for them. It was absolutely necessary for McLaren.
Yes, because Hakkinen on lap 16 is already over 20 seconds ahead. Anytime soon, 2 more laps, James, and he will have a complete pit stop in his pocket over the rest of the field. So Michael Schumacher working quite hard in the front. It doesn't look sorted at all, I have to say. I do not believe the car is where he wants it to be.
Yeah, it's not doing McLaren all that good, actually, with Coulthard out of the race, because at the present moment, Ferrari are on 9 Constructors' World Championship points, with Schumacher in 2nd place and Barrichello in 4th place. Mika Häkkinen for McLaren is on 10, of course, which means to say that McLaren have carved the gap from 52 points between themselves and Ferrari to 51 if things stay as they are. It's looking very, very good for Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship and, of course, for the Drivers' Championship. On lap 16, we're into the 2nd quarter of the British Grand Prix now. 60-lap race, Häkkinen, Schumacher, Montoya, and the gap between Häkkinen and Montoya is 22 seconds, and the gap between Schumacher and Montoya is virtually nothing.
So this is the main fight of the race you're watching right now. Ralf Schumacher 5th, Kimi Räikkönen 6th, Nick Heidfeld in the sister Sauber 7th, and Frentzen then in 8th. He must have had a bad start too in there somewhere, so that's the main scrap, other than, of course, Michael Schumacher just about keeping Montoya at bay. Jenson Button is down in 13th place, running along, having a scrap with De La Rosa in the Jaguar.
How are the teams doing? Ferrari very well, thank you, because they are 2nd and 4th. How are McLaren doing? Well, leading is fine. Having the other car out is not good. How are Williams doing? All right, they're in 3rd and 5th positions. And then how are Sauber doing? 6th and 7th, excellent, thank you. Jordan have only got Frentzen in the race, he is 8th. Arrows have got Verstappen in 9th place and Bernoldi down in 14th position. And BAR, just to go through the top 10, Jacques Villeneuve is in 10th position, and his teammate Olivier Panis is out as Montoya pushes Michael Schumacher on lap 18.
Now, will Schumacher let Montoya go so easily? Yes, I think he has, and he will. So Michael Schumacher then just letting them cruise past him this afternoon. I don't think he'd want to take any risk with this man Montoya. Montoya's shown quite clearly that he will have a go at the first opportunity. Ross Brawn looking super cool, but I don't believe they'd yield those points for the sake of it, Murray.
Yeah, we're standing right behind the main grandstand, and they've just risen to a man and cheered Montoya past. Well done, they're saying, and rightly so. I don't think that they think that Michael Schumacher is taking it as comparatively easily as we here in the commentary box think he is. But maybe he's got a problem. Now let's start watching Rubens Barrichello, who is in 4th position, and see how his lap times compare with those of Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher's last lap was 1:26.12. Rubens Barrichello's 1:26.3. 1/10 of a second in it between the two Ferraris, with Michael Schumacher marginally fastest, now down in 3rd position. And Montoya is now really starting to go for it. His previous lap, 1:25.8, but that was 1.5 seconds slower than Häkkinen.
I didn't mention Eddie Irvine when I went through the Brits earlier on because I couldn't see him where I expected him to be. He's down in 15th place, is Eddie Irvine. So Mika Häkkinen then 25 seconds ahead of Montoya. Michael Schumacher now already 2.2 down. Barrichello a further 11 seconds down the road. Ralf Schumacher still in close company with Barrichello. Räikkönen rounds off the top 6.
And there is the replay of Juan Pablo Montoya taking that 2nd position away from Michael Schumacher as we're coming up towards the 20th lap. Now, if there are going to be 2 stops in this race for some of the drivers, the first of those 2 stops will happen sometime after lap 20. Last year, of course, when the conditions were very different to what they are today, because today it is not only dry but very, very much warmer. Track temperature 28 degrees now. Ralf Schumacher was the first of the two stoppers to come in, and there were very few of them. He came in on lap 24. We're on lap 20 now, so the two stoppers should be starting to come in fairly soon, and then we're going to see what sort of strategies people have got. But Mika Häkkinen, I never had any doubts, frankly, that Mika Häkkinen had lost any of his ability. He certainly hasn't. He's had the most appalling luck this season, because he's had 6 failures to finish, with suspension troubles, with clutch troubles, with gearbox problems, with electrical problems, which have also affected David Coulthard. And you've just seen Alonso as Erja Häkkinen impassively watches what's happening to her husband on the track. Fernando Alonso in the Minardi, the only one in the race, because his teammate Marquez was not allowed to start. He failed to qualify within the 107% of pole position time, and Alonso is in 16th place, last but one. Fisichella is last on the track in the Benetton, and he has already been lapped. Lap 21, 1/3 distance at Silverstone, and Mika Häkkinen there is sliding his way through the field. He's past Fisichella, he's past Alonso, he's now tight up behind Eddie Irvine as we look at this replay of Montoya passing Schumacher.
Yes, this is for second place, and Michael Schumacher, no doubt about it, just getting out of the throttle gently down the pit straight. Montoya still looking like he wants to give him a cuddle as he goes past him, like edging up closer and closer to him, and easily, of course, then takes the line into Copse. And here's another angle of it, and without doubt Michael lifting out of the throttle, saying, I'm happy, third place will do me for whatever reason, the points will do me, or I've got a problem. And the first stop of the afternoon then, and Kimi Räikkönen in from 7th position, 6th I think it was, because he's been passed as he's going down the pit lane to lose that 6th place, and a reasonable, quite early stop. I'm expecting them nearer 22-24, and Häkkinen's car, their team, getting ready then. James, can you see them?
Yeah, as we expected, Martin, they've got the tyre covers off, and this is what we thought. Häkkinen has got reasonably light fuel. Now, he needed about 28 seconds to be able to pit and rejoin in front of Michael Schumacher. He had only just under 26, so I don't know whether he's going to do it. But I think Michael is playing quite a cagey game here this afternoon. And bear in mind, Martin, that Ferrari had more data about these new Bridgestone tyres, a good stop there by Häkkinen, than the McLaren team have.
Yes, I agree with you, James. I think they probably brought Mika in slightly early because he was in the thick of the traffic, as you saw, and was beginning to lose some of that lead. And there is Montoya then. So Montoya takes the lead of the British Grand Prix.
And it's not the first Grand Prix he has led. Remember that incredible passing manoeuvre he made on Michael Schumacher in Brazil at the Senna S. Now, this man has got real talent. This is the man who won the Formula 3000 Championship, who went to America as a contracted Williams driver to drive for Chip Ganassi, and he not only won the American Champ Car Championship, but he won the Indy 500. Came back to Europe to drive for Williams and displaced Bruno Junqueira in the process, and now he is leading again. Slightly full situation because, as you know, Mika Häkkinen is right behind him, having gone into the pits and come out again. There's very little in it on the track. There's a lot more than it looks in terms of time, because what's a time full stop take? 20 seconds here?
It's longer than that, Murray, and it was a reasonably good and short stop for Häkkinen. Montoya, we know the two Williams cars are on the harder of the Michelin tyres. Have they elected to go for a one-stopper this afternoon because they really didn't have the pace to go and win this race, as they have in the most recent Grand Prix through this summer? They've not really had a tip-top pace through the weekend. Can they try and do it on strategy? I still don't think Montoya will be going that much further before he too makes a pit stop. I'm sure Häkkinen was a strategic stop, an earlier stop, to get him clear of that traffic he was having to lap.
Well, Michael Schumacher still out on the track, of course, And I said we would watch Barrichello's times in 4th position. The Ferraris are now 3rd and 4th. And Barrichello is lapping about half a second slower than Michael Schumacher. So maybe Michael's decided that the rot has now got to be stopped. Montoya leading, Häkkinen 2nd. Michael Schumacher on lap 23 out of 60 in 3rd position, ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW up into 5th place. So they're looking good, Williams. They've got Montoya in the lead. They've got Ralf Schumacher in 5th position. Frentzen, as a result of the stops, is up into 6th position in the Seoul Jordan as Jos Verstappen exits the pit lane in the arrows. As soon as that fuel filler comes out, away he goes. Belts the Asia Tech engine hard, incidentally. The rumours say definitely that the Arrows team are going to have Ford Cosworth engines like the Jaguars next year. And Jenson Button comes into the pits for his stop from 16th and last but one. His teammate Fisichella is last, so that'll be a crumb of comfort for Jenson Button. Not much of a one, but at least he's ahead of his teammate, and he always has to be the first target.
So Häkkinen then really, of course, with more fuel on board, we would imagine, than Montoya at this stage of the Grand Prix, as he has just pitted. And the gap is pretty static, it's 0.6 of a second as they went over the line. They're both in the low 1:24s, well over a second faster than anybody else. This is a great performance this afternoon from Montoya, whatever the level of fuel. Look, he's absolutely on the ragged edge through Stowe. 2 or 3 times I've seen him using uncharted territory through there and hanging onto that Williams. He does seem to like that aggressive style, Murray.
Yeah, he's a strong lad and a very aggressive lad and a very menacing lad. You look into those very dark brown eyes of his and they're very determined indeed. He's only finished in 2 races this year. You're looking at the gap now between Montoya and Häkkinen battling for the lead, and Michael Schumacher there in 3rd position. He's 12.5 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Now, I was saying that Montoya has only finished twice this year, but each of those times he was in 2nd place in Spain and at the Nürburgring. All the others have been DNFs, did not finish. Usually because he's had some sort of a problem with the car, but he's settling down extremely well to Formula One now, and to say that he's a star of the future is very much an understatement. Bernoldi exiting his Arrows from the pit lane on lap 25.
No life for a Formula One clutch, is it? They get burned out pretty quickly with those starts out of the pit lane. Massive energy as you're lighting up the rear tyres. Just before you do so, that drag on the clutch, and they get 2 or 3 of those through the afternoon, plus the start, of course, and they're tiny things about the size of a man's fist to transmit that power. And this then is Rubens Barrichello with Ralf Schumacher in close attendance. So 4th and 5th places as Frentzen pits from 6th position. Heinz-Harald Frentzen having a calmer afternoon. Louise is down there.
Yeah, this race started with such high hopes for Jordan, but pretty much dashed by the first corner. That first pit stop's gone okay. I think the most nervous man, it's always a tense moment at the pit stop, I think the most nervous man down here, there was Ross Kemp. He had a severe case of stage fright, but all seems to have gone okay for the man.
7 laps ago, Mika Häkkinen broke the lap record here at Silverstone with a searing 1:23.799, and that is some half a second faster than Michael Schumacher's previous lap record. It's a speed of about 138 miles an hour. Averaging around this 3.2-mile circuit. Into the pits comes Montoya.
So as we expected then, Montoya not with a heavy fuel load. He pulls into the pits from the lead of the British Grand Prix. It all seems to be going well, seems to be calm. A lot of thumbs up in the air. My wheel is on, firm and secure. I'm happy if you send him as soon as the fuel is in, and off down the pit lane goes Montoya at 120 kilometres per hour. And it's a long pit lane here at Silverstone.
Yeah, but take it easy, 120 k's, 70 miles an hour. Release the button at the right time, Juan Pablo. When you're back on the track, out of the pit lane, he has done so. Mika Häkkinen, Mika on the side pod, Mika on the rear wing, and he is now back in the lead on lap 26 at Silverstone. And Montoya is back on track in 2nd position ahead of Michael Schumacher, who is much closer, of course, to the Williams than he was before. And there is Barrichello, followed in 4th position by Ralf Schumacher, and Jacques Villeneuve is now up into 6th place, but he's 30 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher's Williams BMW. Top 6 and gaps. Häkkinen leads Montoya by about 5 seconds or so. Michael Schumacher another couple of seconds further down the road. Mika Häkkinen has just broken the lap record again as I talk to you. Rubens Barrichello is 14 seconds behind his teammate. Ralf Schumacher is right with Rubens Barrichello, and Jacques Villeneuve in 6th position is 30 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher. More news from James Allen.
It's all shaking out in a very interesting way, isn't it, Murray? It's, as I was saying on the grid beforehand, it's wonderful when you get a mixture of different strategies, and that's what we've got here this afternoon. When will the Ferraris make their stop? As I say, they've been quite conservative this afternoon, and one of the reasons for that they were able to base it on is because on Friday, this brand new Bridgestone tyre, no one had run it before, and they put Rubens Barrichello out for the whole of Friday on one set of tyres to build up the maximum amount of data that they had, and that seems to have worked for them very nicely. I can tell you that after the stop that Montoya made, his next stop will be on lap 44. So the pivotal thing then is when will Häkkinen stop about 4 laps earlier, and when will Michael Schumacher stop?
Thanks for that, James. You're looking at Jacques Villeneuve in 6th position, being pursued by the 2 Sauber Ferrari-engined cars of Kimi Raikkonen, the super Finn, ahead of his German teammate Nick Heidfeld, and they are in 7th and 8th places. Frentzen is down to 9th position as a result of his pit stop. Jean Alesi is up into the top 10. 4 retirements in order of retiring. Panish, Trulli, David Coulthard and Luciano Berti, and with the greatest of respect to the other 3, the most important of those from the race point of view is of course David Coulthard, who started this race in 2nd position in the World Championship, and he's still there, but it's getting more and more and more difficult for him.
Montoya then slipping back down to 5th position before, since that pit stop rather, so Montoya back to 5th. Ahead of him though, Schumacher, Ralf and Barrichello. Schumacher, Michael have yet to stop, so it's still looking good for Montoya this afternoon, and this man Villeneuve has not stopped yet. That is why he's up into the top 6, and that is why both Saubers are chasing him.
You're watching the 2 Saubers now as Patrick Head, the very tough and forthright technical boss of the Williams team, strides out of the garage to the pit lane gantry, turns around and strides back again. Sunday afternoon stroll for Patrick, or maybe he changed his mind about something. But the Sauber team is without doubt the most improved of 2001. And when Mika Salo, who drove for them last year, said to Peter Sauber, "Why are they going so much better this year, Peter Sauber?" Peter said, "Well, probably it's because you're not driving for us, Mika." Rather a backhanded compliment, but he's taken on 2 newcomers, Kimi Raikkonen, who had never driven in a Grand Prix or even in Formula 3 or even in Formula 3000 before this year, and has turned out to be the sensation of the season. He's already had 2 4th places, and Nick Heidfeld, who left the Prost team and joined Sauber, and is probably absolutely delighted he did so, because the Prost people are still very much in the doldrums. Jean Alesi has had a couple of points finishes this year, and he's in 10th position at the moment. His teammate Luciano Berti, of course, out of the race. So you watch Jacques Villeneuve, 6th position, exit Woodcote Corner, pursued by Raikkonen, pursued by Heidfeld, and Frentzen in 9th position is 4 seconds further back. Now up front, as we get towards the half distance, because we're now on lap 29 out of 30 in this 60-lap race, Mika Häkkinen is now 11 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and Michael Schumacher is 17 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Doesn't time fly when you're enjoying yourself? Because we're now on lap 30 out of 60 at Silverstone. Half distance as you watch Rubens Barrichello pursued by Ralf Schumacher in 4th position, and Montoya, his teammate, who is 5th after his pit stop.
Yeah, bad news for Montoya here, really. He didn't need this at all. He's clearly on a 2-stopper, like Häkkinen up front, but it's also clear now that Ferrari, as James predicted, are on 1-stoppers, and so is his teammate Ralf. And he is now tucked up behind Ralf and Rubens and the back markers, just when he needs a bit of clear air to make that strategy of his work. So Montoya then a little bit wrong-footed by where he rejoined the racetrack after his stop.
And although Ralf Schumacher and Montoya get on all right in a sort of rather calm and distant way, Ralf Schumacher is not going to want at all to move over and let his teammate through, even if he's told to.
Well, he'll have to. I mean, if the team radio him, I mean, it's really compromising Montoya's position now vis-a-vis Michael Schumacher, who's obviously way out of this picture at this time because Michael hasn't stopped yet. And really, Williams should be releasing Montoya. But Ralf, as you said, is not going to be keen on that. He wants to race Barrichello anyway, and he wants to keep Montoya as behind him, try and spoil his afternoon.
What are the Michelin runners doing? Well, they are in 4th position with Ralf Schumacher. They're in 5th position with Montoya. And the next one is Pedro de la Rosa, who is in 11th place, 1 position ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine. 17 cars left in the race out of the 21 who started. Tasso Marquez did not qualify and was not allowed to start, even though an appeal was made to the stewards. They said they didn't see any just reason why he should be allowed to take part in the race. Now there in the McLaren, behind the 2 Ferraris of Eddie Irvine and Pedro de la Rosa, is race leader Mika Häkkinen. He's up to the 12th position, the 2 Jaguars in front of him.
Yeah, the green, very, very green Jaguars are lying astern there in 11th and 12th place, just about to be pounced on by the McLaren. And one of them decides, Eddie Irvine decides that's not what he fancies, so he's gone in for his first and probably only stop of the afternoon. Häkkinen then 13 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher.
Bit of a race in the pits, look. That's Jean Alesi, who is just ahead of Eddie Irvine on the track. They come in together. It's up to the mechanics now to move really fast. Eddie Irvine could ideally gain a place here if the Jaguar mechanics could do a really super stop and get him out. Has he done so? Yes, Eddie Irvine gets out ahead of Jean Alesi. And although others will have passed him, when they come in for their pit stops, it will mean that Eddie Irvine has improved his track position against the Prost, which led him when they came in. We're on lap 32 now, and Mika Häkkinen, as a result of the stop and Schumacher being out there, is now nearly 12 seconds ahead of the Ferrari. Ferrari in a very strong position because Rubens Barrichello, who, like Michael Schumacher, has yet to come in. There he is, behind Jean Alesi, who has rejoined. Barrichello in 3rd position, still ahead, of course, of Ralf Schumacher, and behind him Juan Pablo Montoya, who has not got past his teammate. All 3 of them are now ahead of Jean Alesi. Only 10 cars out of the 21 who started are on the same lap at the present moment. Mika Häkkinen has lapped everybody up to Pedro de la Rosa, and up to Heinz-Harald Frentzen now, who is in 9th position in the Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar. Lap 33.
Retirements then, Panis tripping over his teammate Villeneuve in the first corner in the gravel trap. Truly, we're coming together with Coulthard. Coulthard managed another 4 laps before his suspension failed because of the coming together. Truly ended up in the gravel trap and out of the race immediately. And the other retiree, Luciano Berti, whose Prost Acer lunched itself right in front of the comedy box here, laying a nice trail of oil to try to catch the others out. They managed to survive that, so just 4 retirements, but Mika Häkkinen carelessly up the front this afternoon, and this is the main scrap of the race at the moment. Barrichello 3rd, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Montoya 5th, having made a stop, and he's on a different strategy and has been held up effectively.
Interesting situation between Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher in the championship. as Jacques Villeneuve comes into the pit lane from 8th position. Heinz-Harald Frentzen takes that position. Interesting position, as I was saying, between Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello. They're only separated by 1 point in the Drivers' Championship when this race started. And at the present moment, Barrichello on 4 points is 1 ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Now, if Ralf Schumacher could get past him, they would be even Steven at the end of this race. And Williams are obviously fighting to retain their 3rd position in the Constructors' Championship, lap 34. And there are Barrichello and the 2 Williams.
You wonder what the lookalike was on the back wing of Villeneuve's car. It's not a new sponsor or anything like that. Obviously, it's just different ways they choose not to carry the cigarette advertising here at the British Grand Prix, as they do have to now in several other European Grand Prix. But Barrichello then still with his mirrors full of contender Ralf Schumacher. And these two, of course, homing in on Coulthard for 2nd in the World Championship as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because David Coulthard at the present moment is on 47 World Championship points, and Ralf Schumacher, who is 3rd in the championship, is on 31, and Coulthard out of the race. So if Schumacher can get ahead of Barrichello, it's going to make a big difference to his World Championship situation, and that is going probably right down to the wire. The last race of the season in Japan at Suzuka on October the 14th. This is race 11, and the next 2 are at Hockenheim in Germany in 2 weeks' time, and then the wonderful city of Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix 2 weeks after that. You've just seen Patrick Head. You're looking now at Ross Brawn, the Ferrari technical boss, and John Todt, who had that conversation with Martin on the grid. And here, all on his very own, having yet again broken the lap record. Mika Häkkinen has just gone round in 1 minute 23.3, and the previous lap record was 1:24.4. He's taken a massive 1.1 seconds off Michael Schumacher's previous record.
Well, it's just like an extended test day for Mika Häkkinen. He really has no contenders in this race. Michael, it appears, doesn't really want to be bothered with a fight today. He's thinking of the World Championship. Can you blame him, really? In many respects, it's a shame for us. I'd like to see more of a head-to-head than that, frankly. And really, nobody else out there is remotely fast enough to bother Häkkinen. So Mika really just enjoying himself, probably seeing how much faster he can go each time around.
Yeah, and Michael Schumacher's got 22 points more in the Drivers' Championship here at Silverstone, which is race 11 out of 17, than he had at the equivalent time last year. Last year, the 10th race of the year, of course, was the Austrian Grand Prix, because the British Grand Prix was at the end of April, as we well know, those appalling weather conditions. And incidentally, the British Racing Drivers Club and Octagon have done a superb job here at Silverstone this year. As far as I know, certainly no weather problems as far as people coming in, and there is a massive crowd in this ideal weather conditions, thoroughly enjoying themselves. We're on lap 36 now. Häkkinen out on his own. Into the pits comes Pedro de la Rosa, and he was in 9th place, just 5 seconds ahead of Verstappen, who will have taken the position.
And look down a little bit further down the pit lane, the Williams mechanics are out for this man, Ralf Schumacher, who pits for the one and only time this afternoon from what was 4th place at the time. Montoya snuck past him, of course, as he was in the slower pit lane. What's going to be interesting to see is, can Michael Schumacher pit a little bit later on and get back out in front of Montoya, because Ralf Schumacher really is fighting with Barrichello this afternoon, and the fuel hose taking 2 or 3 seconds to come out there, so that cost Ralf quite badly, and I think will probably keep him behind Barrichello.
Oh, yeah. Now, what is also going to be interesting is that Montoya has no longer got Ralf Schumacher between himself and Rubens Barrichello, and the Colombian is an extremely feisty fighter. I'm not suggesting that Ralf Schumacher isn't, but Montoya will be having a real go at Barrichello now. He's with the Ferrari.
And that is Heidfeld and Frentzen, so that is for position. Ralf coming out of the pits has cost him a little bit, and I believe that'll mean that Raikkonen is in front of him then. So I think Raikkonen has cleared Ralf Schumacher in this, and Frentzen having a go up the inside of fellow countryman Nick Heidfeld, and doesn't make it stick.
No, Heidfeld just moves across, which he's perfectly entitled to do. He got a car's length ahead of the Jordan, and he moved across, took his racing line. Frentzen is having another go at him. He's got a clean line on the inside as they come out of club, out to Abbey, and he dives through on the inside. That was a lovely move.
It was. Can he make it stick? No, he can't. He went in too deep, and just as you were turning and looking at me, Murray, I was thinking, has he got the grip when he gets there? Because that was desperately late. And often, when you sweep across the track like that, you get a momentum going in the car that hurts you when you get there, and that's exactly what happened to Frentzen. But quite clearly, he's got a much better car under traction than Nick Heidfeld.
Well, watch out Rubens Barrichello in third position, because Juan Pablo Montoya, your fellow South American, Barrichello from Brazil, Montoya from Colombia is right behind you, and there he is. From 1.1 seconds, the gap has come down to 0.4 seconds, and Rubens Barrichello, who's just been back to Brazil for a holiday, which he said gave him new energy. He's going to need it now, because Montoya is pushing hard. The gap between Montoya, who is fourth, and Häkkinen, who is in the lead, is 42 seconds. Häkkinen's out on his own. He's nearly 20 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher now, and Schumacher is some 24 seconds ahead of Barrichello.
Well, that's a crucial time, isn't it? Because he's ahead of Montoya by the same amount as well. So I think Michael can duck in and out of the pits and come back out in second place. So Montoya losing out heavily then by, as I said, where he rejoined the track. And that, good for us. I think that's going to put him in another head-to-head with Michael later on.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that you are right. Now down. Oh, now here we are with Jenson Button. He's down in 13th position in the Benetton with the Renault V10 engine.
Looks like somebody's hit the wrong button on the Sony PlayStation game there, because we went dark. Maybe we'll throw a bit of rain at him a little bit later on. We think Ralf Schumacher has gone off the racetrack. So we think Ralf Schumacher, we're hearing from the truck,
there he is.
He looks like, rather than gone off, looks like he's stopped actually in that position more than crashed, but we'll have to wait and see. And we think Ralf Schumacher with a technical problem then, and quite clearly out of the car, out of the race.
Well, you know, Williams can't be happy about their reliability record. That's if it is a technical problem, that's the 6th time this season in 11 races that Ralf Schumacher has retired, and Montoya has retired 8 times. Frank Williams has said, we really have got to do something about the reliability. When they finish well. Montoya's had 2 second places. Ralf Schumacher's had 2 wins. Now, here we are with Jenson Button again. What's it like, Martin?
He's in Bridge Corner. That's where, just to the right, there's where Ralf Schumacher's trying to find the clutch to enable the marshals to move his car out of the way. It's tucked up in a little pit lane entry for support races, but no problems for Button at this stage. He is currently running 13th, as you can see, and just 3/4 of a second, and that's what 3/4 of a second looks like. That's how far a Formula One car travels every 3/4 of a second. The distance between him and the little dot on the horizon there, which is old hand Jean Alesi, heading down then towards Maggots and Beckett's. Let's see. Big lift there for Jenson. This car really not working for him. Look, even having to fight the car hard. And Häkkinen is in the pits. I can see Häkkinen pitting out of our window here. Looks like a scheduled stop. They're very much ready for him. So lap 39, that would be about right, James.
Yeah, Mika Häkkinen comes in, but the Ferrari boys are out ready for Michael Schumacher.
He's coming
in down the pit lane now as well. Of course, he's not really racing Mika Häkkinen, because Häkkinen has managed to work a big advantage over him, but he is racing Juan Pablo Montoya. They've both got one more stop to make. We're waiting to see what Montoya does, but at the moment, the tyres coming off Schumacher's car look great. They've behaved themselves really well, and Schumacher back out into the race. Where is he?
Well, I can tell you that Rubens Barrichello, with Montoya tucked up behind him, are about to pass Michael Schumacher. There you see it. Barrichello goes through, Montoya goes through, Schumacher rejoins the race. It's getting very interesting now, and Barrichello knows he's under pressure because he's just made his fastest lap of the race. Here is the situation. We're at 2/3 race distance at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, and Mika Häkkinen with his stop, and Michael Schumacher with his stop are getting very close. Rubens Barrichello and Montoya, you can see, on the track together. Then we've got the two Saubers, the most improved team of the year 2001, with their Ferrari engine. So, as Martin's already pointed out, there are 4 Ferrari-engined cars in the top 6. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is right behind Heidfeld, who is in 6th position, but 33 seconds ahead of Jos Verstappen in the Arrows, who is 8th. Jacques Villeneuve in a very disappointing 9th. Is he going to stay with BAR? Jaguar, the top Jaguar, is in 10th position, driven by Eddie Irvine.
So it really has wrecked Montoya's afternoon then, hasn't it? Because you can see the gap. That is Barrichello, of course, but just behind them, a few seconds down the road, is Michael Schumacher, and we know Montoya is going to have to stop again yet for a bit of a, what will be a bit of a splash and dash. Not too far away from the end of the race, but this quite clearly puts Michael back in 6 points position here, Murray.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher, as ever, has proved that he is not only a fantastic race driver on the track, but that he uses his headpiece to perfection. I don't know what percentage of his ability is used actually driving the car at record-breaking speeds and race-winning speeds and pole position-winning speeds, but it's clearly left him with an enormous amount of mental capacity to think about the way the race is going, what the tactics ought to be.
Well, this is good. Look, we're going to get a pit stop from a driver's eye view. You can see, you just choose the colour that you want to go into, and there's a box full of 22 men all dressed in the same colour. It's a good clue for you where you're going to stop. Well, you very rarely read that board. You're just looking for the lollipop to go up, and it's instinctive, the movement you're making inside the car. You're holding the steering wheel in the straight ahead position, your left foot gently on the brake, and you're steering at that lollipop. And when it goes up, you go. You can't see in your mirrors to check if anybody's coming, because your mirrors are full of mechanics. So here then, Montoya desperately struggling to get past Barrichello. They're on a different strategy, and it's wrecked Montoya's chances by losing all of these laps where he should be similar pace. And is that Montoya going in the pit lane?
Coming in. He seemed to pause and decide whether he was going to come in or not, suddenly jinked to the right. So it's Montoya in his 11th Grand Prix against Barrichello in his 140th Grand Prix. And this, of course, is going to do Montoya no good at all. The question is, can he get back on track before the two Saubers appear? Kimi Räikkönen in 5th position and Nick Heidfeld in 6th position. And the answer is most definitely yes, he can, because I'm looking back towards Woodcote now, and the Saubers are not yet in sight.
But Montoya then, remember, this is a very fast corner cut, so I think Montoya will get away fast enough, but that was not a good stop considering how little fuel. Should have been 7 or 8 seconds, so not a great stop there again for Montoya. We saw them struggling a bit with the fuel hose earlier on for Schumacher too, so losing a little bit of time in the pits today, Williams. Can Montoya, I think he'll definitely stay ahead of Barrichello, but for surely he's going to be behind Michael Schumacher. A lot of work to do for him then.
Yeah, he managed to stay out ahead of Jordan Lacey and Bernaldi, who are fighting down in 11th and 10th places, as out of the pits goes Heinz-Harald Frentzen behind Heidfeld. They came in 5th and 6th, and I think they're exiting 5th and 6th. And Kimi Räikkönen, who was ahead of them, of course, as a result of his stop, has dropped back a bit, and we're on now on lap 43, 17, 1:7 to go.
Barrichello in the pit lane. Rubens Barrichello for what is a very late stop, 43 laps in to this 60-lap race. What can they do for him? What kind of service is he going to get this afternoon? All looks slick, doesn't it, so far? He's holding a nice steady revs. Up goes the lollipop. Drop the clutch. Make sure you spin the wheels, otherwise the engine will die. No problem at all then for Rubens as he cruises out and heads into the final sector of this Grand Prix.
And over the line there is the Williams in the background as Michael Schumacher in 2nd position, 22 seconds behind Häkkinen, exits the Vale, turns into the left-hander now, club corner.
You know, I think Barrichello will be ahead of Montoya, you know, because Montoya's stop was slow. Barrichello's looked pretty slick, and interesting to see, did Montoya get out there in front of Barrichello? It'll be very nip and tuck.
Yeah, look, mighty close. You think no, in my mind I'm thinking yes. We'll see very soon what happened. Now, this is Fernando Alonso in the Minardi pulling off the track. What's the problem? Oh, look, there's the problem. Left front wheel. Off it goes on a little rollabout of its own. And it's packing a lot of momentum. It looks as though it's going quite slowly, but those things weigh a great deal. I once had Didier Pironi's wheel hit me in that situation, and I tell you, it hurts.
Yeah, and Marshall bravely recovering that wheel. I heard they were rebuilding the Reliant Robins again this week. I saw in the news, but shame for Alonso. I think he'd recently been in for a pit stop, actually, so whether that one didn't just quite hook up properly, but no danger to anybody there. And this then is a Villeneuve in place 8, closely followed. A lot of attention from Eddie Irvine. Eddie's had a bit of a lacklustre weekend, Murray.
Yeah, top 10, lap 44, 16 to go. Silverstone, Hakkinen leads Schumacher by 22 seconds. Barrichello by 48 seconds. Montoya is just a couple of seconds behind Barrichello. You were right, Martin, but he's catching him. And in 5th and 6th places, Raikkonen and Heidfeld. Bernaldi racing the Benetton down the line. They've both got their pit limiters, speed limiters on, or should have, and I suspect Bernaldi may have allowed discretion to not to become the better part of valour. He looked as though he's having a bit of a go. I wonder if he's going to get a speed penalty, a 10-second penalty, which is a lot more than that by the time you've slowed down and come in and then had to speed up again. And still Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR with its Honda engine leads the Ford Cosworth powered car, the Jaguar of Eddie Irvine. I think, Martin, Honda must be very disappointed with this season. They've dominated in the past when they've been in Formula One with McLaren, with Williams, with Lotus, with turbo engines, with normal engines. But they're being seen off well and truly by Ferrari, by McLaren with Mercedes engines, and by Williams with BMW engines now.
No doubt about it. And where are Jordan? Where's Frenton? We know Trulli was in the boondocks, but they look so strong in qualifying, 4th and 5th on the grid, so strong in the warm-up this morning. Frenton cruising around in 7th, some 2 and a bit seconds off the pace.
And has been lapped. Now there are only 5 people on the same lap as the flying Mika Hakkinen, who's looking very good for his first Grand Prix win since Belgium last year. That was race 13 out of 17, and we're up to race 11 out of 17 this year.
Villeneuve painfully slow through the complex there, and Irvine really catching him very quickly, but still can't pass him, of course, heading down the pit straight towards Copse. Eddie working quite hard in that Jaguar. Villeneuve then clearly with a better car in the high-speed stuff, hopelessly slow in the slow speed.
Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar in 9th position, chasing Jacques Villeneuve's BAR, the world champion of 1997. Another very disappointing race for the French-Canadian. And Jacques Villeneuve is only just staying ahead of Irvine, but he is staying ahead in 8th position. In 10th place now, making up the top 10, it's Jos Verstappen in the arrows. You can see how hard Eddie Irvine is trying. And on lap 46 with 1:4:14 to go, Mika Hakkinen has got a very, very secure lead, but he's got to finish the race. And there's many a Grand Prix in the past where the leader has failed on the very last lap, and that's happened to Mika Hakkinen himself this very year. But he's 22 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and into the pit lane comes Eddie Irvine from that 9th position for his 2nd pit stop.
Locking up his wheels, desperately trying to slow down before that 120 km/h line, and it's not a question of the man not seeing you down there. It's all done electronically. There's a loop underneath the racetrack there. They'll tell him exactly what speed he was doing. Eddie absolutely on the margin there, and a late stop really for him in this Grand Prix. 9th place. He had a 27-second advantage over Verstappen behind him, and that is a proper 2-stop time. Now you can see Verstappen coming down the pit straight in the distance. So Eddie Irvine will retain 9th place. Can he recatch Villeneuve?
Yeah, good stop by Eddie Irvine, and Jacques Villeneuve has only stopped once, and he's got to come in again. So it may well be that when Villeneuve has done his stop and rejoined the track, Eddie Irvine will be in front of him. We're on lap 47.
I don't think Villeneuve will stop again, Murray. I don't believe Villeneuve's got to stop. So that then quite clearly is leader Häkkinen homing in on Irvine to lap him for the 2nd time. So the 9th place man getting lapped twice. That's De La Rosa, sorry. So De La Rosa, your current 12th place man, is about to be lapped for the 2nd time this afternoon.
Well, what does it mean if Mika Häkkinen wins the British Grand Prix? And he's looking very likely to do so at the present moment with 13 laps to go. I don't think he ever lost his confidence, Mika. He's not that sort of a chap. He will have said to himself, I've had very, very bad luck in failing to finish 6 times. The dice have been loaded against me. Things will come good. They always do in the end, and they seem to be coming good for him. So, although he never lost his confidence, this will be a considerable boost to him. And it's proving that the McLaren is in great shape. That's a very important thing for the rest of the season from the point of view of racing activity on the tracks. Ferrari are looking very strong for the Constructors' Championship. I've said that before, I'll say it again, because the Ferrari team is already 52 points ahead of McLaren. And Michael Schumacher, if he finishes in 2nd place, is only going to yield 4 points in the Constructors' Championship to Ferrari, and that will reduce the gap to still a massive 48 points. But Mika Häkkinen is obviously and rightly going to feel very good indeed. But there are still, as he crosses the line to go into his 49th lap, 12 laps to go, including the one that he's on. Michael Schumacher, while he's cruising round, he's about half a second slower than Mika Häkkinen on each lap, but he's still lapping at virtually the same time as his teammate Rubens Barrichello, and therefore maintaining the 25-second gap between himself and Rubens. Rubens Barrichello is lapping marginally quicker than Montoya, so the gap between 3rd and 4th is increasing a little each lap, and Kimi Räikkönen and Heidfeld in the 2 Saubers are still 5th and 6th. In fact, as I look down the figures, there's not a lot of battling going on anywhere. Fisichella is in 13th place in the Benetton, and Donaldi is only 2.2 seconds behind him and catching him. But now we're looking at at Michael Schumacher coming up to lap Jacques Villeneuve, and he does so.
How much longer will Jacques Villeneuve put up with being lapped twice in a Grand Prix? I don't think that's what he went to BAR to do, is it? And another dismal afternoon in many respects for the 2 Honda-powered teams. Where did Jordan get to? We thought they were so strong. They were 4th and 5th on the grid. Very fast in the warm-up, but Frentzen a lap down in 7th place and 2 and a bit seconds off the pace. And Villeneuve 8th place and a similar amount off the ultimate pace, Murray. So really a bit of a poor afternoon.
Yeah, you know, people don't talk about this very much, but I think Jacques Villeneuve is still suffering the effects of that enormous accident he had at the first Grand Prix of the year at Melbourne at the beginning of March, when he slammed into the wall at enormous velocity. I know he's not feeling well, and he's getting remedial treatment for it. I believe it's affecting his performance, because good as Panis is, he's not as good, I believe, as Jacques Villeneuve, and Panis has often been seeing Villeneuve off this season. But whatever, I think the French-Canadian must be getting increasingly depressed. He's not an old man. He's a long, long way from being an old man. But Jacques Villeneuve wants to win, and he will want to be in a better team than the one he is in at the moment. And he's coming up to his 30th year. He's got several years in front of him. But as the 1997 world champion and the man who gave Damon Hill such a run for his money the previous year, he will want to be up front, and he's got the talent to do it. The question is, of course, where can he go?
That's the interesting point. Not too many open spaces. Louise Goodman is down in the pits.
With Ralf Schumacher. Ralf, another retirement. I think that's your 6th of the season. What was the problem today?
We still have to figure out. There was a technical problem, rather gearbox or engine, I think, which stopped me going. And you know, I just decided to stop. There was a strange noise going on, and I just stopped the engine.
Differing strategies for the Williams team. You went for the one stop. You're happy that was the way to go?
Well, I mean, as you saw after the stop of my teammate, I was in front of him and going at a pace of Barrichello. And I think, yeah, it would have been the right strategy. I mean, Kimi, I think, was still due to do one stop. So I might have ended up on the podium today, maybe.
Thanks, Ralph.
Michael Schumacher driving round. He is lapping consistently half a second slower than Mika Häkkinen and therefore consistently dropping back. The gap is 26 seconds, but clearly Michael is not the least bit worried about it. He's had his one stop that he planned to have. Rubens Barrichello, that we just saw there, has had his one stop, which was what he was planning to have. Here is the Brazilian. It's going to be yet another third position for him. He's finished in third position 4 times already this year, and a couple of second places. He won, of course, the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim last year, starting 18th on the grid and in appalling weather conditions, carved his way through to the front. He'll be looking for another win in Hockenheim in the next race, 2 weeks' time. I don't think he's going to get it, because if Michael Schumacher is on the pace, that would be his 51st Grand Prix victory, which would take him up to the level of the most winning of all time, Alain Prost. We thought that was going to happen here, or a lot of people did, but it clearly hasn't. And there is Häkkinen ahead of Raikkonen, so there are now only 4 people on the same lap. The same lap, 52 out of 60. We're getting towards the end of the British Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen a massive lead over Schumacher. Schumacher a massive lead over Barrichello. Barrichello is 8 seconds ahead of Montoya, and it's only those 4, Häkkinen, Schumacher, Barrichello and Montoya, who are on the same lap, because both the Saubers of Kimi Raikkonen, I keep on trying to find new superlatives for this young Finn, 21 years old, and it looks as though he's going to be in the points for the 4th time this year in 11 races in his first season of Formula One. They'll all be after him.
Well, they're all after him already. I'm sure they're trying to nail his contract for the future and find out exactly which piece of paper he put his signature on with the Sauber team and what it says. Raikkonen, as you said, another very mature and calm performance. He would certainly know bits of this racetrack from his Formula Renault days here in the British Championships, but a peerless run again from him compared to teammate Heidfeld, who's 7 seconds further down the road. And, well, Kimi just seems to have all the qualities necessary. But is he locked in to a 3-year deal with Sauber? I wonder, would they release him? But that Sauber car, Sergio Rinland did a good job on designing that. But starting off with a Ferrari engine and then presumably the Ferrari gearbox, and then also that would position your rear suspension for you as well. That's a very good starting block, a good foundation for a fast Formula One car, and that is certainly what this Sauber is.
The amazing thing is that the man who designed the car you're looking at, Sergio Rinland, I shook his hand as I walked across the bridge to come to the commentary box this afternoon, and for whatever reason, and I've never really got to the bottom of it, his sojourn with Sauber was a very short one. He left the team at the beginning of the season, so the man who's designed this brilliant car is actually looking for a job now. And we're on lap 53, 7 laps including this one, 16 cars left in the race. The Minardi of Fernando Alonso is still last. Well, the question is who can catch who, and as a result of that change the positions if they can get past and get more points. In the top 6, Frank doesn't look at all, Patrick doesn't look at all happy.
Well, he's never the outwardly the most happy soul
laughing boy,
in paddock, but he's good company, Patrick Head, and he has got a great sense of humour. Ron looking particularly smug, I think, is the right word there, and comfortable with the afternoon. Ross, well, what's going through his head? I'm not sure he's comfortable with a cruisy afternoon and an after-use sort of policy, really.
No, Ross likes to have a strategical race. He's absolutely brilliant at the strategy, and he and the man that you are looking at, Michael Schumacher, make one of the greatest driver top technician teams in the history of the sport. I think of others like Colin Chapman, of course, and Jim Clark, who made a wonderful technical and driver partnership. But Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher are certainly, in my opinion, the best of the day. We've got Mika Häkkinen and Adrian Newey at McLaren, and Patrick Head, and now Ralf Schumacher, who's settled down extremely well at Williams. And we're on lap 55. Our worries about the weather, or our hopes about the weather, it depends what you were looking for, because there were plenty of people here who were hoping for rain here, as a result of which it could have affected strategies and tyres, but that has not happened, and we're now on the 55th lap. Well, dare I say it, because I have been so wrong in making prophecies in the past, in the closing stages of a race. But we're now coming up to the end of the 55th lap out of 60 at the 2001 British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And things really do look set at the beginning, and you would expect any cars that have got a problem to have gone by now if it was going to take them out of the race. And that means that Mika Häkkinen looks like winning his first Grand Prix since the Hungarian Grand Prix last year, which was the 12th race of the year. He's going to come home victorious at Silverstone, and it will be a richly deserved victory for the very popular and likeable Finn. Here he is coming towards us now, and Michael Schumacher is now a full half a minute, 30 seconds behind the flying McLaren Mercedes. And it's not only going to be an enormous encouragement to McLaren and to Mika Häkkinen, but to Mercedes as well, because in recent races they had been shaded by the Ferrari V10 engine and the BMW V10 engine, and particularly by the Schumacher brothers, Michael and Ralph.
Well, Mika Häkkinen, of course, has never won the British Grand Prix. He has been robbed here before with an engine failure. But Häkkinen versus Michael Schumacher rings a few old bells from the 3 seasons previous to this. It's a while since we've really seen them head-to-head, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be a true head-to-head this afternoon. Michael Schumacher electing for a cruisy afternoon. Can't say as I fully appreciate that. I'd much rather he got on with it and took the fight to Mika Häkkinen, but that's from a fan's point of view and not from Ferrari's point of view. Of course, they just want to win the World Championship, but I still think it would be nice to see him going for it a little bit harder than that. You've got to say, it's not the most inspirational British Grand Prix of all time. Mika Häkkinen has got to be the driver of the day, because it has been a good performance. Difficult, really, to fully judge just how good Mick has been today, because the rest of them haven't been anywhere near. James Allen is in the pits.
All very true, Martin, but it's been a very interesting race strategically. It's always nice to see people using different ideas, but I can tell you there'll be a very serious debrief on strategy in the Williams factory on Monday morning. Patrick Head, the technical director, is not exactly looking disgruntled, but he's certainly looking a lot less than gruntled. He's got used to winning races now with BMW Williams, and he's not at all happy at the way that Montoya's race was compromised by his early stop and getting caught into traffic. He's got a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp, and there's a few people going to get a bit of his tongue later on this afternoon, I think.
And I wouldn't like to be one of them. You know, these drivers make it look terribly easy. Mika Häkkinen there on a smooth, flowing copybook drive has looked as though he's out on a Sunday afternoon drive once he'd got past Michael Schumacher. But think of the stresses these people are under. The slowest corner on this circuit is about 55 miles an hour. They accelerate up to some 200 miles an hour as they're going down to Stowe Corner. the braking forces, the acceleration forces are absolutely massive. I remember, Martin, when you took me out in the McLaren two-seater, I was just about able to stand 5 laps of it. If you'd said to me, would you like to go on for another couple, I would have wanted to. My pride would have made me say yes, but I probably would have had to say no. They are supremely fit, these people.
And so they should be, Murray. Michael Schumacher earns about $1 million a week during the racing season, and we expect excellence for that. Yeah, I'd like to be on. I'd like to be a pan behind you, Murray.
Well, here we are. We are now on lap 58 out of 60 at Silverstone, with Rubens Barrichello keeping it neat and tidy all the way around the circuit. He has got the Jaguar of Eddie Irvine behind him, which he has just passed again. And Rubens Barrichello is well clear of Montoya. Montoya's catching him, but he's 9 seconds a lap. He's 9 seconds behind him, and he's catching him at about 1/10 of a second a lap. In fact, he's just lapped at almost exactly the same time as Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari. Rubens had delusions of grandeur, I think, at the beginning of the season when he signed a contract to drive for Ferrari in the belief that he would be able to give Michael Schumacher a run for his money and that he would be allowed to do so. Well, Michael Schumacher has not permitted him to do that, and to be fair to Rubens, nor have Ferrari, because he's had to move over and let Michael Schumacher through. But now we are on lap 59. That is the last lap but one at Silverstone. And as you look at Rubens Barrichello in 3rd position, Mika Häkkinen, there is Michael Schumacher in 2nd position, and the gap is increasing all the time. It's 31.5 seconds with 2 laps to go between him and Mika Häkkinen. But I have to say, although it hasn't been exciting from our point of view, Michael Schumacher has done a very sensible thing. He has decided to defer to Mika Häkkinen, let the Finn go ahead. The fact that Mika is going to finish 4 points ahead of him in this race is not going to make any difference to Michael Schumacher in the Drivers' Championship at all, because Häkkinen was only on 9 points compared with Michael Schumacher's 78 at the beginning of the race.
Lots of stories, of course, that Ferrari were using their qualifying engine here for in the race, a different specification for the first time. Is that true, Murray? Do you think that's a fact?
That's what I was told.
So maybe that's why they've asked, as soon as Coulthard was out of the race, why they've asked Michael just to knock the revs back a little bit and be sure to finish this afternoon, as Häkkinen then through Copse for the final time at racing speed this afternoon for the 2001 British Grand Prix. He was 33 seconds ahead when he crossed the start-finish line at the end of the previous lap. So Häkkinen then down Hanger Straight. The team tests here 20, 30 days a year at least, and he will know this place like the back of his hand. He knows every bump down that Hanger Straight. He knows every line through this Stowe corner. He knows exactly where to brake over the crest for Vale, and this will be like a cruisy outlap on the first early run of an average test day for him. He'll just be swanning along. He knows that feeling very well, but this time around it means 10 World Championship points, Murray.
Indeed it does. Mika Häkkinen back at the top for what is going to be his 19th Grand Prix victory, and a very welcome one it's going to be. He's going to feel an absolutely liberated man, knowing that this time everything has come together for him. Out of Brooklands for the last time, he's just got the double right-hander at Luffield, the tremendously quick turn 17, which is Woodcote Corner, 155 miles an hour, and for the first time Mika Häkkinen wins the British Grand Prix. He just cruises across the line and takes the checkered flag, luxuriating in every wheel turn.
Well, that's a hat-trick for McLaren. Then even if Coulthard couldn't pull it off this afternoon, Mika Häkkinen scores 3 consecutive British Grand Prix wins for McLaren Mercedes-Benz. Second place man then, Michael Schumacher. I'll have those 6 points. Thank you very much. That puts him, of course, then 37 points in the lead of the World Championship with a mere 60 available for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and because Rubens Barrichello is going to finish in third position, it will mean that McLaren and Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship have both scored 10 points at Silverstone, and the gap, therefore, between Ferrari in the lead and McLaren in second place will remain at a massive 52 points, with the German, Hungarian, Belgium, Italian, American and Japanese Grand Prix still to go. Ferrari must be very, very happy.
Montoya crosses the line then for a disappointing fourth. Remember, he was running a strong second before he made that early, crucial pit stop, and he'll be very disappointed with that, and some 68 seconds behind the winner, Mika Häkkinen. Raikkonen and Heidfeld will not have the pleasure of seeing the checkered flag. They're 5th and 6th in the two Saubers because they were over a lap behind, so their race is over 1 lap early.
Well, Mika Häkkinen, hand out of the cockpit, taking the plaudits of the crowd. And the top 10 at Silverstone were Häkkinen, Schumacher, Barrichello, McLaren, Ferrari. The top Williams, Montoya in 4th position. The two Saubers are superb, 5th and 6th, both in the points. Heinz Harald Frentzen, 7th for Jordan, no points. Villeneuve, 8th for BAR, no points. Jaguar, 9th position. They probably won't be too unhappy with that, because they said that Silverstone wasn't really their kind of track. They're looking for something different, but they are improving all the time. Arrows, you have Jos Verstappen in 10th position, and then completing the other 16 who finished out of the 21 who started. Jorna Lacey in the Prost is 11th ahead of the second Jaguar, De La Rosa. James, news?
Yes, indeed, Murray. I'm down in the McLaren area, and a tremendous celebration going on down here. Ron Dennis, as Murray would say, Mika Häkkinen, who never went away, is now very definitely back.
Absolutely. Great race for him. Copybook from beginning to end. Right strategy, well executed. Mixed emotions. I'm really disappointed for David, but it's not over. We took points away from Michael again today, and we have the speed. I think we can win, obviously, more races, but it was Mika's day, and the championship, as far as I'm concerned, for David is still very much open.
Absolutely. Did you draw any encouragement from the strange pace of Michael Schumacher today? He seemed to be off it, really, didn't he?
I think his pace just reflected a one-stop strategy, which was the wrong strategy, but possibly, as always, they'll have a reason for dampening the enthusiasm of our victory, but they'll struggle to do that.
Well done, Ron. Great day today.
Don't worry, Ron. You did a grand job. Congratulations to Ron Dennis, to Martin Whitmarsh, to Adrian Newey, to Neil Oakley, and all the other people at McLaren and Woking. Not forgetting Mario Ilian, the late and very much missed Paul Morgan, who had so much to do with the engine of the Brixworth concern. They've won the British Grand Prix, their home Grand Prix. Well done, Mika!
Amazingly, that launches him straight up to 5th place in the World Championship, despite his disastrous season so far. 10 points carries a lot of weight in the middle of the table. A lot of people are scrounging around for 1 and 2 points here and there, and Häkkinen then hardly launches a championship challenge from his lowly position earlier on in the season, but nonetheless he will enjoy that victory very much. And Michael then, well, Ron says it was the wrong strategy. Certainly didn't pay off for anybody this afternoon, but he still ended up ahead of Barrichello, who was on a 1-stopper too, and ahead of Montoya, who was on a 2-stopper. So I still believe they were merely cruising as soon as Coulthard was out of the race.
Oh, well, says Michael Schumacher, ho-hum, job done. He continues to lead the World Championship now with 84 points, and that is a massive increase in his lead over David Coulthard. David Coulthard has got Rubens Barrichello inching up on him. The gap between the two of them in second and third places is just 3 points. The gap between Rubens, who is third, and Ralf Schumacher, who is fourth, is 3 points. So there's still going to be a battle for that third position between the Ferrari and the Williams driver. But as Martin has just said, with one mighty bound, Mika Häkkinen has leapt up to 5th position in the Drivers' Championship. albeit some 65 points behind Schumacher, as David Coulthard congratulates his teammate.
Yeah, that'll be doubly painful for David Coulthard in that quite clearly the McLaren were the class of the field this afternoon. Maybe Mika would have yielded that win to David. He owes him a couple anyway. And of course, I think with David's position in the championship, Mika may well have been in a position where he wanted to or was forced to hand that win over. So David will be very much ruining that first corner, coming together with Jarno truly, but nonetheless sportsmanlike of him to go in there and be the first to congratulate Mika.
The cheery chappie on the right with the dark glasses is Herbie Blash, who has worked with and for Bernie Ecclestone for so long at Brabham, an ex-Lotus mechanic, and he's done a wonderful job in Formula One.
Bet there's a good book in Herbie, wouldn't you? But you couldn't write it till a few people had departed.
You'll never read it. The book that Herbie Blash could write about Formula One would be very, very much a bestseller, but sadly, much of it is confidential. So Michael Schumacher, happy enough. He's done the job. He's done about an hour and a half's drive. Mika Häkkinen, there he is, smiley Mika Häkkinen. That's the great Joe Ramirez on the right, who has been with McLaren and so many other teams for such a long time. And just before I came into the commentary box, I was talking to him. He's retiring from Formula One after the race at Indianapolis this year, and he will be sadly missed. But everybody now crowds up, because very soon out onto the podium are going to come the victorious three, and the winner, Mika Häkkinen, will receive that magnificent Royal Automobile Club Gold Trophy, which has been presented to all the winners of the British Grand Prix since 1948 from His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent, one of the really great motor racing enthusiasts. He's driven Formula One cars himself. It's not well known because obviously he has to do it in conditions of secrecy, but he really knows what it's about, and he is a very genuine enthusiast. And there he is, waiting for Mika Häkkinen to come out to get onto the top step of the podium, to be joined by Michael Schumacher on the second step and Rubens Barrichello on the third. And here they are, Häkkinen onto the top step. Ferrari are now on 118 points in the Constructors' Championship compared with McLaren's 66. And well done, dear, says Häkkinen, their son Hugo, and the Finnish national anthem. Leaping about and jumping in the air by Mika Häkkinen, but he's a very happy man, and it is the British national anthem for McLaren. For Mika Häkkinen, Adrian Newey, the car's designer, the man on the podium. The fourth man in the grey shirt will be Martin Whitmarsh, the managing director on the left-hand side of your picture.
the managing director of the McLaren team. An important day for Mercedes-Benz. BMW have been stealing a lot of their glory. The fellow German manufacturer, but Hakkinen then with that very famous gold trophy.
Well, there are 60 points left in the Drivers' Championship. On the left, Michael Schumacher, as Martin Whitmarsh receives the winning Constructors' Trophy from Ted Kunkel, who is the Chief Executive of Foster's. And now the second place driver is going to receive his award from Richard Caburn, who is the Minister of Sport, and the second place driver is, of course, Michael Schumacher, the elder of the two great Schumacher brothers. But I was saying there are 60 points left in the Drivers' Championship, and David Coulthard is now 37 points behind Michael Schumacher. I'll say again, all is not lost, but it is looking better and better for Michael Schumacher, and better for Ferrari. But nothing can look better for Mika Häkkinen than where he is now. The champagne sprays again in the hands of this superb Finnish driver, and Mika Häkkinen has won at Silverstone.
Congratulations, gentlemen. A fantastic British Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen first, Michael Schumacher second, and Rubens Barrichello third. Mika, you've never won here at Silverstone before. Indeed, you haven't won in Formula One for nearly a year. How does it feel?
It feels really good, obviously, after all this trouble that's been going on this year. So it's good to win it, obviously, and particularly here in Silverstone, because trying for English team and English crowd, so we made a great show, you know.
Now, you seem to be on it, even though you were well clear of Michael, about half a minute clear, you seem to be driving really hard right to the final section of the final lap. Is that because you kept thinking about the final lap at the Spanish Grand Prix earlier this year where you pulled off?
No, because what I was planning to do, I was really want to push really hard to make a big gap. That when I come down here and park the car, I have a time to have a cup of tea when these boys coming back, you know.
Well, it worked. Thank you very much, Mika. Michael, early in the race, Mika was able to get past you. Did you make a mistake at Copse, or did you just let him by on the run to Beckett's because you already knew that David Coulthard was out of the race?
Yes, certainly. I mean, I parked the car and waved him by. No, what a joke, obviously.
You've done that many times.
Yes. No, my car wasn't really the way I would have liked to have it, in particular into Copse. I had a lot of problems. I got sideways a couple of times at the entry, and when it happened with Mika, exactly that happened. I lost it at the entry, and I managed to keep it on the track, which that was the only thing I was worried at this moment. And then Mika was beside me, and nothing I could do against that.
And then after that, Mika was able to pull clear. It was obviously clear in your mind that he was on a two-stop strategy to your one-stop. Who decided in Ferrari that you would be stopping just the once in the race?
It's always a team decision, honestly.
Thank you very much, Michael. Rubens Barrichello, you were the last person to come in for your first stop. Did you stay out particularly long time because you had the Williamses sitting right on your tail?
I think it's... we certainly thought it was the best idea. And I mean, I didn't have the balance I wouldn't have liked it since Friday, to be honest with you. So I was having to drive it quite carefully, although I was trying to be quite fast. And I was lucky that my car was quite good at exiting Beckett, otherwise I couldn't hold anybody. But it was good to see Montoya coming into the pits, and then I had the chance to come in and still be in front of him. After that, the car with the new tires were a little bit better, so I was okay to drive away.
Indeed, in the final section, when Montoya came back on after his second stop, he seemed to have a problem. Were you able to relax a bit, because you were clearly in third place, more points for Ferrari in the Constructors' Cup? I believe Ferrari are now 52 points clear of McLaren.
Yeah, I've been told that I was a second faster than Montoya, and that Mika was quite clear from Michael that it was nothing to gain anymore. So yeah, I had a chance to relax.
Thank you very much, Rubens. Back to you, Mika. It seemed from the outset of this weekend that you were in a more relaxed frame of mind. Maybe that's not 100% accurate interpretation, but it certainly looked that way. Is this a new Mika Häkkinen? Are you now back on the winning trail and we're going to see more wins before the end of this season?
Well, hopefully there will be more winning end of the season, but I think this Grand Prix before this Grand Prix we had a very good test. We were able to get a good balance to the car, and the tires was what we were using here was suiting a lot in my driving style. So I was able to attack the corner, and I was able to have a car which did not understeer so much, and it gave me opportunity to choose the line in a corner what I wanted to. So probably that can explain a little bit my speed over here. Otherwise everything is like it always been.
Thank you very much. Now, gentlemen, in your own languages, please, starting with Mika.
Jaha, mistäkään sitä aloittaisi sitten? Totta kai, niin. En oikeastaan tiedä mitä sanoa. Se oli todella hieno voitto pitkästä aikaa. Niin kuin itsekin tuli ymmärrettyä tietysti, että viimeistä voitosta on melkein vuosia aikaa, joten se automaattisesti rupesi rassaamaan aika paljon, niin kuin voitte kuvitella. Ja nyt se vihdoinkin tuli sitten, ja se tuli selvästi. Ja se oli niin kuin tarkoituskin, että silloin jos ollaan johdossa ja on mahdollisuus mennä kovaa, niin silloin painetaan mennä täysillä alusta loppuun asti, eikä paljon hellitellä, paitsi nyt siinä vaiheessa, kunnes siinä ei ole minkäännäköistä järkeä niin enää ottaa riskejä. Ja sitten toisaalta puhutaan kilpailusta, niin se oli sääli nähdä Davidin tuossa tilanteessa, koska silloin kuitenkin hyvät mahdollisuudet tänä vuonna taistella, koska on vielä 6 kilpailua jäljellä, niin se oli sääli, mitä tapahtui sille ekassa mutkassa. Joten ei mitään muuta kuin terveisinä vaan sinne kaikille ja jatketaan tästä.
Thank you, Mika. Michael, please.
War mit Sicherheit eines der eher schwierigen Rennen im Verhältnis jetzt zu manch anderen Rennen, wie jetzt Magny-Cours, habe ich hier um einiges mehr tun müssen, um das Auto auf der Straße halten zu können, weil das Auto nicht ganz so gut ausbalanciert war. Insofern war es ein sehr anstrengendes Rennen. Wir haben so viele gute Rennen dieses Jahr gehabt, dass wir auch mal einen zweiten Platz, glaube ich, gerne hinnehmen dürfen. Vor allen Dingen freut es mich für den Mika, der, glaube ich, relativ viel Pech oder sehr viel Pech gehabt hat in diesem Jahr und endlich wieder auf seinen normalen Weg zurückgefunden hat. Und ich hoffe, dass wir dieses Jahr noch einige enge Zweikämpfe haben werden. Vielleicht auch zu meinen Gunsten beim nächsten Mal. Aber ein zweiter Platz, 6 wichtige Punkte für die Meisterschaft. Alles in allem dürfen wir da zufrieden sein.
Thank you, Michael. And Rubens, please.
Primeiro pódio aqui em Silverstone desde a época da Fórmula 3000, então obviamente estou bem contente. Foi uma daquelas corridas novamente na busca de posições, largando lá atrás, depois de uma classificação não tão boa. Então, eu acho que eu tenho que estar bem contente com o resultado que traz alguns pontos a mais, 2 posições além da primeira posição que eu gostaria de estar, mas de uma certa forma é mais um pódio e mais um bom resultado para a equipe.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.